So everyone has been saying how shite the summer season has been. Okay, yeah, there's been quite a few mediocre films and some outright shite ones. But there's also been a lot of really good ones this year too. Baby Driver, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, Spider-Man Homecoming, Wonder Woman, and now... Hi, I'm Danny Quinn, and welcome to the newest episode of First Impressions. On today's episode, Andy Serkis's Caesar confronts Woody Harrelson's Colonel in a war for the planet of the Apes. After the events of Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, Andy Serkis's Caesar and his ape clan are engaged in a conflict with the US military. Caesar has become much more ruthless as a result, growing increasingly bitter towards the humans, and sets out to find the mysterious Colonel played by Woody Harrelson, a religious extremist who runs the military faction Alpha and Omega, and who is determined to save humanity at whatever the cost. I think the rebooted Planet of the Apes franchise has surprised a lot of people, me especially. Rise of the Planet of the Apes really helped to resurrect the long-dormant franchise after the failed attempt by Tim Burton way back in 2001. And while I don't think it's quite as great as people make it out to be, it is still a very good film in my opinion, largely because of Andy Serkis's fantastic performance as Caesar. And it does lay a very solid foundation for sequels to build upon. And boy did the sequel build upon it. Dawn of the Planet of the Apes was even better, a much more gripping and poignant story. The human characters, which were one of the weaker aspects of the original film, were considerably improved. The effects were even better than they were in the original, and it was very well directed by Matt Reeves, who has returned for this movie. So it's fair to say that I was really looking forward to this film, even though at the same time I was also deeply skeptical. Even when a sequel manages to improve on its predecessor, it's usually the third entry in the series where the franchise begins to decline in quality. I mean, just ask these franchises. But I'm pleased to say that that is definitely not the case with this film. War for the Planet of the Apes is not only as good as Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, in some aspects I think it's even better. It's such an immensely gripping, thoughtful, occasionally grueling and emotionally satisfying film, the likes of which you don't really see much in big budget blockbusters. It really goes to prove that any idea, even ones that sound really daft and cheesy on paper, can work very well with just the right execution. For one, this is a big budget blockbuster that actually focuses on its story and characters, and not just how much shit you can blow up in 2 hours time. Andy Serkis' Caesar is now officially one of my favourite characters as a result of his character growing and changing throughout these 3 films. He started as a very innocent and compassionate ape in Rise of the Planet of the Apes, and his experiences in that film really hardened him in a big way. And the events of Dawn of the Planet of the Apes also changed him greatly too. He became much more stern and firm, but at the same time he's always had that compassionate side. He cares deeply about his fellow apes, and he is trying to find a peaceful solution to the conflict with humans because he doesn't want to hate them, because he doesn't view them as inherently evil. But in this film he's grappling with his darker instincts. He's realising that even though he doesn't want to fight the humans, he has no other choice but to go to war with them in order to protect his clan. And because of the threat that the humans now pose to him, that compassionate side that we saw of Caesar in the past 2 films, it is starting to fade a good bit. He's plagued by bitterness and regret as a result of his experiences throughout these 3 films, and he's becoming increasingly like his enemy Koba from the previous film. And I love the way that the movie conveys this through his actions and some of the decisions he makes, some of which are downright cold or even selfish. Admittedly, he does run the risk of being unlikable, but because of the writing, you still feel a lot of sympathy for him, and Andy Serkis does a fantastic job in the parts. Yes, I know when it comes to visual effects, it is the visual effects team that helped bring the character to life, but they're only part of a team, and it really does depend on the actor you select for the role. And Andy Serkis is usually brilliant when it comes to motion capture. I love him as Gollum in Lord of the Rings. I really like him as King Kong in the King Kong movie that Peter Jackson did, and I absolutely love him as Caesar. I think it's probably my favourite role of his, personally. Yes, even more so than Gollum. They're both tragic figures, and Serkis' performance really helps to bring that out in both franchises. It's a shame that he hasn't been nominated for an Oscar for either playing Gollum or Caesar yet, but I'm sure he'll be nominated someday. Hopefully. It's also the first film in the trilogy where I feel like the apes are the main characters, through and through. In Rise of the Planet of the Apes, for instance, I felt like the apes were often sidelined for James Franco's lead, and even in Dawn of the Planet of the Apes to an extent, I still felt that Jason Clarke was the main character. But that's definitely not the case here. Many of the ape characters from the past 2 films actually return in pretty big roles. Karen Conoval returns as Maurice, Caesar's advisor who helps to keep him in line and prevents him from embracing the darker sides of his personality. Terry Notary returns as Rocket, Caesar's former bully, who's now his best friend in a way. And these two apes do get a lot to do in this outing. They feel very much like main characters in their own rights, which is great, because I do really like these characters. They're both very likeable, and it's great to see them actually get a prominent role in these films. And then there's Steve Zahn as Bad Ape, a kooky and eccentric ape who Caesar and his companions encounter on their quests. He's basically there to add comic relief and levity to the film, which is a very risky thing to do because it can end up being very forced and annoying. But much like how this premise can end up feeling very dumb and pretentious if it were handled wrong, it actually works very well. He is funny and he does have some very entertaining moments, and he works off against the other actors very well, I think. But despite his oddball demeanour, he's also a character that's tinged with sadness, and there's a great deal of depth to the character rather than just being some light form of comic relief. He's a character that's experienced a lot of cruelty at the hands of humans that has left him psychologically damaged in a way, and he often feels like an outsider among Caesar's group. It's touches like that that do add a lot more to what could have been very stock characters, and Zahn plays the part very well. The human characters are handled very differently in this film. For one, there's no real human lead aside from Amia Miller's Nova, and I'll get to her soon, but for the most part there's no Jason Clarke or James Franco type character in this film. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, because in my opinion the human characters were always the weaker aspect of these films. Even in Rise of the Planet of the Apes, aside from John Lithgow's character, I wasn't really as invested in the human characters as I was the apes. Dawn of the Planet of the Apes was a bit of an improvement because I did care more about the human characters in that film, and I did care about their situation, but even then, Jason Clarke's character, as great as he was, still felt like he was just thrown in because the filmmakers didn't have the confidence to tell a story because they wanted to have a human character for the audience to connect to. But this movie's actually free of that sense of arbitrariness, and the humans are presented in a much darker, much crueler light than they were in the previous films, such as the case with Woody Harrelson's Colonel. The Colonel is a very cruel and sadistic character who forces apes that he's captured to work in his base that's ostensibly a concentration camp for apes. But he's also a very complex character as well. Much like Caesar, he's basically trying to protect his own kind. It's just that he's resorted to very extreme measures to do it. And he's also trying to fight the virus as well, the simian flu, which has been this very prevailing threat throughout these movies. It's starting to take its toll on the human race. It's robbing them of a lot of their attributes that make them human, such as their ability to speak. And he's this very rough, uncompromising, no-nonsense way of actually dealing with it. But although he has a very harsh and uncompromising affectation to him, he also has a very pitiful centre to him as well. He's a complete wreck of a man, riddled with paranoia, and I don't know if this is the intention of the filmmakers, but I did see a lot of comparisons between him and Caesar. For instance, I always took him to be a reluctant leader in his own way, but he's since embraced the darker side that Caesar hesitates to embrace. He very much represents what Caesar could be. And Woody Harrelson is absolutely fantastic in the part. He's mesmerising. He's one of my favourite actors in general, but this is probably one of his best performances in my opinion, which is really saying something. But not all the human characters in this film are callous and cold-hearted. Okay, most of them are, but there is one big exception, and that is the character of Nova, played by Amaya Miller. She's a young girl who has been rendered mute by the virus, but she also serves as a reminder to Caesar that not all humans are inherently bad, as she travels along with Caesar and his group on their quests. And the character brings a really solid emotional core to the film, especially in her scenes with Maurice as he teaches her how to communicate with the other apes through sign language, with one of my favourite scenes being a scene where she asks Caesar for water. It's a very sweet scene, and the scenes between her and Maurice are legitimately touching, and do keep the movie from being overly nihilistic and bleak. And make no mistake, this is a very dark film. Not Batman v Superman and Fan 4-stick dark, but dark in terms of its themes and tone. One of the main themes is how war and conflict can have an effect on somebody, but the movie also focuses on themes such as the loss of humanity, and the way that the movie explores these themes is very downbeat. Yeah, the humour and heart do keep this film from being overly joyless, but as a whole it's not really a fun movie. And as I did say earlier, some of the scenes in some are very gruelling and emotionally exhausting. The scenes set at the Colonel's compound, for instance, are very bleak, and you really get the feeling that there's no hope for any of the apes that go there. The film is also very well directed. Matt Reeves does an excellent job in the director's chair, much like he did with Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and I'm really excited to see what he brings to the Batman solo movie that's coming out in a couple of years' time. One of the things I really like about this film, and one of the things I really loved about Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, was that it relied very heavily on sign language and visual storytelling. It shows you how the characters are feeling, it doesn't tell you. And Reeves gives the film a strangely intimate quality, albeit one that never loses the sense of scale and spectacle that people have come to expect from these movies. Although I will admit, I did find the religious symbolism in this film a bit on the nose, not subtle in the slightest. There's so much else I could praise about this movie too, such as its special effects. The special effects are absolutely jaw-dropping. The visual effects in Rise of the Planet of the Apes were good for their time, but I do feel like they've shown their age since then. However, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes visual effects are absolutely phenomenal. The motion capture work in that film is mesmerising. And yet somehow they're even able to one-up the visual effects in that film too. The apes are so believable here. It's almost to the point where I'm just like, visual effects? What visual effects? Those look like real apes. And while I'm praising the shit out of this movie, I also gotta admit, I really love the film's score by Michael Giacchino. It's definitely worth listening to, and I could definitely see myself going back and listening to it again sometime soon. And without going into any detail, because I am trying to avoid spoilers, the ending to this film is perfect. It ends this trilogy very well and on a very satisfying note. I think they'd be foolish to try and continue the story after this. Not that I'd be necessarily opposed to any Planet of the Apes movies in the future. I mean, if they're anywhere near as good as this, I'd definitely like to see more, but I don't want to see the story continued. I think the way the story ends is just flawless. All in all, War for the Planet of the Apes is an immensely satisfying conclusion to this rebooted trilogy. It's a very satisfying, rich and emotional film, even if it is pretty light on action and more about its characters and story. But is that really a bad thing? Because I don't think it is. Andy Serkis' Caesar is once again terrific as the character grapples with his darker instincts. And Woody Harrelson makes for a villain that's equal parts chilling and pitiful. The visual effects are a step up even from the second movie, and the rest of the actors, including Amaya Miller, are really good. Although the film is very dark in tone, it never feels completely joyless thanks to its sense of humour and its heart. And the themes are rich enough and handled in a way that they feel satisfying, unlike certain other films that try to be dark and gritty. With Matt Reeves directing giving the film a feel that's both epic and grand, but also intimate and personal. I'm gonna give War for the Planet of the Apes a very strong 9 out of 10. I definitely recommend seeing this movie. If you're 12 or over, it's playing in the cinema near you and you're a big fan of the Planet of the Apes franchise, go see it. Definitely another strong contender for my favourite film of the year. Yeah, competition's actually starting to get pretty stiff, I must say. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll be back soon with reviews for Dunkirk and 47 Meters Down. But in the meantime, feel free to like the video, leave a comment and subscribe to my channel. And until next time, I'm Danny Quinn, and I hope you have a pleasant evening.